We're going to look at it. So foul there on Indiana, on Hull there. But then that is a technical.
That is a technical. Dead ball, contact technical.
It's a little surprising to see so many of these happen in one game because...
Oh, and I don't like the way Lexie Hull...
Remember that fiery moment the last time the Indiana Fever clashed with the Minnesota Lynx? Back then, Lexie Hull took a brutal elbow to the face from Kayla McBride and somehow Hull was the one penalized. Fast forward to this matchup, and Hull got the ultimate revenge that in the Fever's statement win over Minnesota. Hull flipped the script with a play that wasn't just highlight reel worthy, it was personal redemption. The crowd was left stunned, and the message was clear. This Indiana team is tougher, grittier, and hungrier than ever. This wasn't just about one play. It was about the Fever's late-season surge, their playoff push, and Hull proving she can answer back when it matters most. So what exactly did Hull do to silence the Lynx and fire up Fever Nation? Drop your love for Lexie in the comments because this moment was bigger than basketball. Let's go.
Final score, Fever 83, Lynx 72. Indiana ends the regular season with an exclamation point. Fever have won 3 in a row as they enter the playoffs.
How does a team survive when nearly half its rotation vanishes overnight? The Indiana Fever had to answer that question the hard way. One by one, the names piled up on the injury report. Caitlin Clark out with a groin injury. Sophie Cunningham sidelined by an MCL tear. Sydney Colson a torn ACL. Chloe BBY her knee gave out. Ari McDonald a fractured foot. That list alone looks like a competitive starting 5. Instead, all of them were stuck in street clothes. Stack those absences together, and you're staring at one of the thinnest rosters in the entire league. And the truth is, no amount of preseason planning, no amount of depth charts, could have prepared Indiana for a collapse this severe.
I know a lot of people will talk about Nafisa not playing, but I think they're really good without her. They're just a really great basketball team. So I think it was a big win for us because they set the bar high standard wise. We know what to expect when it comes to Minnesota Lynx. And so I think going into the playoffs, it was big for us because, being able to know, guarding Courtney Williams, knowing that her thing is a pull-up, knowing that now instead of not knowing that, it's big for us because we give ourselves a chance. And if they are the standard, we get to see what we are.
Then came the announcement. Caitlin Clark's season was officially over. What was once dismissed as a nagging groin injury was now permanent, stamped on the medical sheet with finality. This was supposed to be the rookie campaign, the one that fast-tracked the Fever into national relevance. Instead, it ended not with a playoff debut, but with a press release. News like that can crush a locker room. Indiana wasn't just leaning on Clark's scoring, they were leaning on her energy, her spark that carried them through rough stretches. And when the update hit, it didn't just land on the roster. It landed on the fan base, from Indiana to Iowa, ripping at the emotional core of everyone who had invested in her rise. Because Clark wasn't just a ticket seller. She was the heartbeat of this season. Losing her was more than an injury update, it was the clearest sign yet that the Fever's playoff ambitions could vanish in an instant.
One of the things that I've been impressed with these guys since even the offseason, really the ones that I was able to work out with in the offseason, is how hard they work. There's a work ethic and there's a work style, and to approach everything in the same way, to be so energetic, enthusiastic, and dedicated every day. And I felt that way in training camp too. There weren't any days where I had to bring that out of them. So I think it's the nature of the women that we brought into this organization to continue to just bust their butts and play hard.
But while Clark was stuck on the bench, someone had to fill the void. That someone was Kelsey Mitchell, and she didn't just chip in a few more points, she became the centerpiece. Mitchell transformed into the most productive scorer in franchise history, shattering single-season marks that even Tamika Catchings never touched. For context, she averaged over 20 points per game every single night. And she did it while running the offense, while absorbing double teams, while living at the very top of every opponent's scouting report. Mitchell carried the load no one thought was possible. She was the offensive heartbeat that refused to let Indiana flatline. The spark that kept their playoff pulse alive when everything around them said they...
kind of all the other things like offensive rebounding that she can do.
Knocked away. Boston comes up with a steal. Here is Mitchell veering through the paint and lays it in.
She's so quick, and especially when she gets out in the open floor, you'll see her coming down. The quick left to right crossover just gets by. I thought she was sprinting. I didn't think she was lumbering.
It was a lumber
Stands up
sprint.
for the big girl.
Mitchell like a blur. That's
On the other side of that burden was Aaliyah Boston. Night after night, she delivered steady production, 15 points a game and over 8 rebounds across her last 10 contests. That wasn't just effort. That was reliability that in a season suffocated by absences, Boston became Indiana's anchor. She bodied up against bigger forwards, controlled the glass, and gave the Fever second chances when they desperately needed them. Whatever chaos the lineups created, Boston was the stabilizer in the middle. Her dominance on the boards even set a new franchise record for single-season rebounds. And you cannot overstate how much that steadiness prevented the Fever's defense from completely unraveling.
8 teams have ever done that. 7 of them went on to win the title. As Boston gets free and lays it in.
She will be on my first team.
Boston in the paint, sneaks through 2 and lays it in.
So ask yourself this: after everything, could this team really still dream of a playoff berth? By any logic, the answer should have been no. Too many injuries. Too many setbacks. Too many reasons to fold. But that's not where the story ended. Instead, Indiana turned every obstacle into fuel. The frustration, the revolving door of lineups, even the questionable whistles, it all became motivation. Players once pegged as role fillers stepped up as nightly contributors. Hardship signings delivered double-digit scoring. Bench players seized bigger minutes and wore them like a badge of honor. This wasn't supposed to happen. But somehow, the Fever refused to let their season die.
You're done with the MVP, okay? Bow, bow, bow! Hell yeah. You already know what it is. Dubs in the chat, you already know what it is. You already know what it is. Let's go to the playoffs and want some momentum.
The turning point was undeniable. The Fever stopped viewing their injuries as a death sentence and started treating them as a rallying cry. That mindset shift changed everything, not just how they played, but how fans perceived them. That be why the time the Minnesota Lynx came into the picture, the story wasn't about circumstances anymore. It was about resilience and how it set the stage for one of the most emotional wins of the season. Why did this victory over Minnesota feel bigger than just another game? Because it was. Indiana wasn't just playing out the calendar. They were staring down a team that had sat at the top of the standings all year, the so-called gold standard of the league. This wasn't about pride. This was about survival in the playoff race. The Fever didn't blink. They came into the night already locked into the postseason, but with a chance to climb. A win plus a little help elsewhere and the 6th seed was in play. To the casual fan, that might not sound like much. But to the Fever, it meant everything. A more favorable matchup, a chance to make real noise, and proof they belonged at the grown-ups table.
Before the playoffs start Sunday tonight, it's regular season game 44 of 44 for the Fever as they host the WNBA's best team in 2025, the Minnesota Lynx.
What makes this run even more striking is where the Fever were just weeks earlier. They had dropped 4 of their last 5. Momentum gone. Fan excitement? Fading. National chatter? Circling back to the same question, had Caitlin Clark's absence gutted their shot at real progress? Most teams in that spot collapse. But Indiana didn't. They flipped the script. The Fever strung together 3 straight grinded-out wins, each one proof of a roster that had learned to redefine itself. And the third of those wins, the one against Minnesota, carried the most weight, because it wasn't just another victory. It was against a team few believed Indiana could handle at this stage. And that's what made it the statement game.
It'll be Alana Smith jumping it up against Aaliyah Boston. The ball is tipped, and it's time to hoop at Indy.
A 10-0 run to start this game for Indiana, and Minnesota wants a timeout.
Powers up top, tees it up, 3. It's good! Energy!
Kicks it out, Powers. You bet! That Back-to-back threes from Aerial Powers.
The Fever double up the Lynx in the first quarter. It's Indiana 28, Minnesota 14.
It was the way Indiana controlled the matchup that made people stop questioning. From the opening tip, the Fever didn't just look ready, they looked like they had a plan and the confidence to execute it. A 10-0 run in the first quarter set the tone. Indiana wasn't here to hang around, they were here to dictate pace. By halftime, the cushion was already double digits, and not once did they look like a team in danger of losing control. Minnesota tried to claw back, but nothing clicked. Cold shooting collided with Indiana's relentless pressure defense, and possessions kept ending in frustration. The Lynx finished just 2 of 20 from deep, and every miss only fueled the sense that this night belonged to Indiana.
Indiana is 4 for 4 from three-point range. Mitchell connects on a 3. Sims leaning jumper is good.
Kelsey driving left, puts it in off the backboard.
Will to it for the first half. Indiana shoots 58% from the floor.
What made the win even sweeter were the unlikely sources of production. Odyssey Sims, signed on a hardship deal not long ago, came off the bench and dropped 15 points. That's not just filling minutes. That's playing like someone determined to prove she still belongs at this level. And then there was Aerial Powers. With Minnesota threatening to cut into the lead in the second half, she buried back-to-back threes that flipped the momentum right back to Indiana. It wasn't just 6 points. It was a gut punch, the reminder to the Lynx that this night wasn't there.